morning. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Tina, and the City of Redwood City Parks, Recreation, and Community Services. I'm Davina Gentry, and Doug Brown, our outreach chair, will also be presenting today. We're going to talk about how to attract birds to your garden, balcony, or patio using native plants.
That was
Plants are absolutely crucial to avian life. Trees, flowers, shrubs, and grasses can serve as shelter, nesting material, and a veritable buffet for the birds. Having a basic level of native plant literacy is beneficial for a variety of reasons. When out in the wild, it can make you a better birder, since these are the plants that are more likely to interact. The birds are more likely to interact with in their natural habitats. Plus, knowing what plants are best suited to your area will help make your garden more bird friendly. Research shows that native plants can help create a healthier environment, a healthier ecosystem, and support a higher diversity of animals. Native plants can host many more types of insects than non-natives. Take a native oak tree, for example. Researchers have found that native oaks can host over 550 different species of moths or butterflies, and especially their larvae. Those caterpillars are vital food sources for birds, for warblers and other songbirds. By contrast, the non-native ginkgo tree can only host 5 species. Now, if you didn't know what a native species is, they are those that have existed historically in the area prior to European colonization. They are those that have adapted to the climate and soil conditions in the area. And that plants and their pollinators have evolved for mutual coexistence. The non-native species, however, have not existed historically in one area, but have been introduced by human activity. They don't necessarily pose a threat to native plants, but as mentioned before, native plants may not support ecosystem health as well as the native plants do. And it's important to differentiate between what is invasive species. Their plants are those that either intentionally or accidentally translocated to an area where they did not exist naturally and where they cause harm to native plants and local ecosystems. Two of the most demonstrative invasive species that we can think of would be pampas grass and the ice plant that grows on the coast. Now, here's a couple of great resources to discover great native plants for your garden. At the Audubon.org native plant website, all you have to do is type in your zip code, and it'll give you 25 top species for your garden. Cowscape also provides a similar resource, and you can type in your city or zip, but be sure to check the box that says bird gardens. Now, CNPS, this stands for California Native Plant Society, and they are a phenomenal volunteer organization that has a tremendous amount of resources and just a ton of information on their website. I encourage you to go there. This YouTube link that we've provided today is actually native plantings for your gardens, a native plant 101. So YouTube is a great resource for these. Now, we'll talk about flowers. And I want to first start off with milkweeds. because there's a bit of controversy surrounding milkweeds. We have both what's called a narrow leaf and tropical species in the area. And there are some people that say the narrow leaf, it depends really where you live as to which species is going to most likely attract monarch butterflies to the plants. The monarch caterpillars eat the milkweed and lay their chrysalis on the milkweed. And then a couple weeks later, you get to see the beautiful monarchs fly off after they've nested. If you do happen to have a tropical species, just know that mites will overwinter on it. And the best thing to do is cut it down to the ground in the winter if you have it. If you want to plant milkweed in your garden, look for most likely the narrow leaf varieties. Now, Doug's going to talk a bit more about some of the other flowers that are good for natives.
Good morning. There are plenty of native flowers that you can plant. I have a selection of a few of them. And flowers are important not only for the obvious seeds that they provide and the nectar that they have for hummingbirds, but also because they attract insects. And so a lot of birds will include insects in their diet. Coneflowers, the Rudbeckia subspecies, is the most common native cornflower planted, and it grows almost all in California. And the coneflowers are very good for attracting things like goldfinches, scrub jays, our native chestnut-backed chickadees, and different kinds of sparrows. And the most common garden sparrows, the white-crowned sparrows and the golden-crowned sparrows, should be back in the next month or so to the peninsula. And many of you use sunflower seeds in feeders, but there are also native sunflowers. A common one is the California sunflower. And birds do love this for the seeds, including the finches, house finches, lesser goldfinches, pine siskins, scrub jays, and if you're really lucky, you can get woodpeckers come into them. This is an example with the salvia of plants that are attracted, flowers that are attracted to hummingbirds. And almost all the hummingbirds you'll find in your garden are Anna's hummingbirds, our native hummingbird. Maybe in the summer, you'll get some Allen's hummingbirds, and during migration, some Rufus hummingbirds. But most other hummingbirds are extremely rare on the peninsula. So they like that they have the tubular flowers, and that's what they're attracted to for the nectar. For the blazing star, that's an American goldfinch that's pictured there. And we do have some of those around. More common on the bay side are lesser goldfinches, which are not as bright yellow. And the chickadees also like this flower, and also titmouses. Common flowers that you'll find, and that includes a native is a California goldenrod or a Pacific aster. The butterfly on the right is a variable checker spot, which is one of our natives. And these provide insects and seeds for a variety of birds, a large variety. Lesser goldfinches, chickadees, house finches, and for the southern part of the county, white-breasted nuthatches. You'll also get sparrows and the California towhee. And here's a picture on the left of an Anna's hummingbird. Again, that's the most common. And it'll also attract juncos, hummingbirds, sparrows. And again, the hummingbirds like it because of their tubular shape. And the plant on the right, it's interesting, it's called a Margarita bop. And that was named a bop for back a porch because that's where it was accidentally found, the species for the first time. And a lot of plants like this, a lot of birds like this. And there's a lot of non-native fuchsias, but there is a California fuchsia you can plant. And again, you can see the tubular shape of the flowers and also the color red. And it's important, this is probably the hummingbird's favorite flower of the natives is the California fuchsia. And it's important in your garden if you want hummingbirds to provide a variety of red flowers so that that's all they can see. And they do find, even though in a hummingbird feeder, you don't need to add red food coloring, they do like the red flowers. And if you have a variety of them, you'll be sure to have hummingbirds come to your garden. Now, Davina's going to talk about another important food source, berries.
Thanks, Doug. We're showing here what is in the sambucus flower, elderberries. They're an incredibly important food source for birds in California. These trees are small shrubs, typically grow 5 to 12 feet tall. There's even been a garden gem species that grows to a short, compact variety, making it a great garden plant in a small spot. Elderberries are host plants for at least 22 different butterfly and moth species, including that of the largest moth in North America. If you've seen elderberry supplements at the pharmacy, that's because some suggest that the ripe, dark purple berries have health benefits for humans. They're rich in vitamin C, fiber, and antioxidants. But the research is inconclusive. Don't eat raw elderberries, though. They're toxic to people, but delicious to birds. You can find 5 different native species on the Cowscape website. Next is the toyon. You'll notice a house finch in the center of this photo with its red head, just barely at the top. The fruit matures in the fall and lasts well into the winter. The flowers are visited by butterflies and other insects and have a mild hawthorn-like scent. The berries are consumed by birds, including mockingbirds, robins, cedar waxwings, house finches, and sparrows. Coyotes will also eat and disperse the berries. Toyon can be planted near houses since they are fire retardant when given enough moisture. They're an excellent hedge plant. The twin berry species is in the honeysuckle family. You can see from the tubular flowers why hummingbirds would love this plant. But even songbirds, along with 25 likely species of caterpillars and moths, use this as a host. The flowers are welcome in the summer when many other plants have finished blooming. This is also a good hedge and deer resistant. Next, we have the holly leaf cherry, and it is a species in the rose family. You can see from the sawtooth edge of their leaf why it's given its name, resembling a holly leaf. There are 4 confirmed butterfly and moth species hosted, although most likely up to 140 different species will use this plant. It can be used for bank, that is hillside stabilization, hedges, and is also deer resistant. Next, we have the ribes family. I like to focus on what we call the chaparral currant. It is a member of the gooseberry family that is endemic to California. Aside from the flowers, it produces lovely berries. There are 3 confirmed species of butterflies and moths, and likely 76 that visit this plant. Birds that like this ribes include the white-crowned sparrow, as Doug mentioned, which should be arriving shortly because of our fall migration, thrush, flickers, bluebirds, and hummingbirds. Next, Doug will talk a little bit about grasses.
For grasses are important, most of all native grasses, as an alternative to lawns, which, as you know, suck up the water. And it is something that birds use for their seeds. They use it for cover. And also, this is a dark-eyed junco on the pictured on the left. And you'll find this commonly in your yard because they don't seem to be that afraid of getting pretty close to us. But this particular species, Nacella, the dark-eyed junco, will actually use that for its nesting material. And there are plenty of other birds that eat grass seeds, including some that we haven't mentioned before. The 2 kinds of doves that we have in the area, mourning doves and Eurasian collared doves, northern flickers, and even western bluebirds. And they do eat some insects, but they eat a lot of grass seed. And muhly grass, it's another species. That is something that is very attractive to sparrows, different kinds of sparrows, lesser goldfinch, and something that we haven't mentioned, you'll have a flock of bush tits, and they will eat the seeds of this plant quite readily. And Davina will go back to another tree.
I want to draw your attention to the western redbud. Its beautiful flowers provide nectars for hummingbirds. The picture on the right, I actually took at the Facebook rooftop garden. So, and they have a rather shallow planting area there. This tree is very adaptable. The heart-shaped leaves that you see here, leaf cutter bees in the springtime and summer will cut little circles on the edge of the leaf and take that circle of green and line their nest with it. It's really fascinating to watch them. It is beautiful in the spring with the flowers and also offers a fabulous fall color and seed pods, making it a beautiful tree year-round in the garden. Now, it's important to understand your microclimate to help you choose the right plants for your garden. We have a number of different microclimates in San Mateo County and for the Bay Area for that matter. This link to looking up the garden zones, climate zones in your area is really helpful to help you choose the right plant for the right place. If you have space for just a couple of pots or plants, this could be simple. But if you have more room, Think about creating a habitat to provide food and shelter for both resident and migrating birds throughout the year. Take a look at your options. Do the plants on your list provide nectar, fruit, or berries at different times of the years? Are there shrubs or trees where birds can nest, as well as provide protective cover from predators? Are you using perennials and ground covers? You can find strategies on the web for creating a bird-friendly container garden for that matter. Take a look at your plant list and see what plants would best provide for your birds and fit the conditions of your space. You really want to consider how big that plant is going to be when it reaches its final size. Leave some bare areas for native bees to nest. In the fall, leave leaf litter. It's important for insects nesting. And in the spring, if you see bugs, it's a cause for celebration. You're doing the right thing. Mid-October is the best time to plant. We typically will have a bit of a heat wave at the beginning of the month, and we get rains at the end of the month. So this is a great time to put together a plant list and consider planting this season. You'll also find on YouTube and his website, a gentleman by the name of Doug Tallamy. Granted, his information is not tailored specifically to California, but he's a great website. You'll also find on our website where to find birds, how to plant plants for birds in their garden. We have some great resources on the website as well. Something that the timing couldn't be better. Our local California Native Plant Society, that is the Santa Clara Valley chapter of CNPS, is hosting its 50th anniversary celebration meeting and fall plant sale on Saturday, October 8th at 10 a.m. at Hidden Villa in Los Altos. If you don't have anything on your calendar and want to learn more about native plants, I strongly encourage you to check it out and purchase some plants to support a great cause.
Wow, what a great event.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So I want to thank you for attending today, and we'll be happy to take some questions from our audience. Tina, if you want to moderate.
Yep, Davina, there is a question on chat from GH. What trees do you recommend that is evergreen? I would assume evergreen that attracts birds.
So if you've got the space and the time, I would strongly encourage oaks.
Oaks, okay.
Oaks, they're just a tremendous benefit for the ecosystem and will attract a variety of birds, from bush tits, sparrows, finches, nuthatches. They're phenomenal.
Okay.
And if you're looking for something smaller and more specific, I'd encourage you to go to the Cowscape website and plug in. You'll see on their website. In fact, let me see if I can pull one up for you right here. For example, new share. Here we go. I'll show you an example of their website. You see that?
Yep, I do.
Okay. So this one is specifically referring to the holly leaf cherry. You can see from their website where it's pinned, the different pins where it's been cited. and documented, but it gives a good description, size, what the form is, depending upon how big your garden is, the growth rate, and here we go. You can, here's even the holly leaf cherry, which will get up to 30 feet tall and 20 feet wide, would be a great shrub that is faster growing instead of a tree. Or if you want to plant a holly leaf cherry underneath a slow growing tree and remove it when the tree reaches a good size, would be another good option. But it's got a tremendous amount of information here. Most of your natives take very little moisture.
Wow.
And in our time of drought, this is an important consideration.
Great. Thank you, Davina.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? You can unmute yourself and ask. Davina, actually, the question came directly to me. They said if you can share this presentation with them, is there any way you can share it with the audience here?
I was just typing in my address so that if people would like a copy of the presentation, they can email us at office@sequoia-audubon.org, and we'll be happy to share it with them.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Davina and Doug?
Are people interested in planting? I want to know who's going to be planting this fall.
Well, I am. So I'm trying to redo my backyard, and your 3 series really inspired me to get plants that actually attract both birds and butterfly.
Yeah, it's important for a healthy ecosystem overall. Tina, when you start to put together your plant list, if you want us to help you and maybe provide any other recommendations, we're happy to do that for you.
Great,
And
thank you so
anybody
much.
else out there.
I have a question.
Yes, Julie.
Okay, so I'd like to know, if we're talking about container gardening, what are some of the better plants for container gardening, considering the drought? I think that might be a good option for people that would attract birds.
So some of the best for containers would be the salvias, black sage, pineapple sage, beautiful showy flowers, and would attract hummingbirds. On the Cowscape site, you can go in and even enter container gardens, and it'll give you specifics. It really is going to depend upon the ultimate, the size of where your container is. If you have a small balcony, obviously you're going to want to get a couple of smaller plants, or maybe one large container, and group a couple plants together. Start with something a little bit tall, something a little low growing, and mix them that way for some variety in a container.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I neglected to include a slide, I just realized, about some local nurseries for plant resources. If you go to our website under the conservation tab, there is a link for native plants, and there's a brochure called Bringing Wildlife Home, Creating Native Gardens and Plants for Birds and Butterflies. And at the list of this PDF is nurseries that stock or you can order local natives. Check with them. This was prepared a few years ago. Their hours may have changed, but some of the best nurseries in the area, of course, we have Yerba Buena Nursery on Highway 92 as you're headed over to the coast. There's Bay Natives in San Francisco, East Bay Wilds over in Oakland. Let's see, there's Sonoma, there's a wholesale nursery, but you would need, and in Palo Alto, Summer Winds Garden, the nursery on San Antonio Road has a great native plant selection. So when you
Other
go
place-
to Wegmans or a nursery, if you don't see a sign specifically for natives, ask them and they'll share with you natives that they have available.
They also have plant sales in Brisbane for the San Bruno Mountain.
Thank you, Doug. That's a great, yes, that's a great recommendation. When that plant sale specifically supports restoration of the Mission Blue butterfly on San Bruno Mountain, a rare species there.
Any other questions? Okay, it looks like we're good. Thank you, Darvina, and thank you, Doug. We really appreciate you guys coming in.
Well,
Thank you for having us, everybody. I hope you have great fun planting your native plant garden. And if you need any other resources, feel free to reach out to Sequoia Audubon. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Bye.